Hello everybody that's joined us so far, and thank you so much for coming into us on our second workshop today, Volunteering and Your Wellbeing, as part of our Volunteer Talk series. My name is Niamh Byrne, and alongside my colleague that's here today, Teresa O'Leary, we both work together as part of the UCD in the Community team. UCD in the Community is UCD's community engagement initiative, and it aims to connect staff and students with the wider community for mutual benefit. This year, UCD in the Community, we will hold our first UCD in the Community Volunteering Awards, which helps celebrate and recognise all the amazing student volunteering activity happening in the community. All UCD students who volunteer are eligible to apply, so you can contact myself or Teresa at UCDIC@UCD.ie for further information. So today, after myself, you will hear firstly from Anna in Dunleary Rathdown Volunteer Centre, followed by Clara in Nightline, and they'll go through all about volunteering and its positive impact on your well-being, and most importantly, how to mind your own well-being. Finally, then we will have our last mini session with Maria Kennelly in TU Dublin, and she'll go through some mindful movement with us. And after this ends, just to let you all know that we are just going to end the meeting. I just think it would be nice that we would all hopefully leave feeling nicely recharged. During the sessions also, through any of our speakers, feel free to send in any questions into the chat, and we'll make time at the end of each session to answer them. If we can't cover them all, I'll include their contact details, and you can of course get in touch with anyone or myself and Teresa if you need any other questions answered. So before we start, we'll have a quick intro from our colleagues in DCU, Trinity and TU Dublin. First of all, pass you over to Ruth Lynham in DCU.
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. I was about to say good morning. So my name is Ruth Lynham, and I'm the Student Volunteer Coordinator in DCU. I work as part of DCU Volunteer, and a lot of my work will revolve around working with students in clubs and societies, students who volunteer or maybe are involved with civic engagement activities as part of their academic studies, and students who are volunteering completely off campus in different ways, even including overseas volunteering. I'm here to help students in whatever way I can. You can email me at my email there that has been kindly sent into the chat, and you can follow us at DCU Volunteer on social media from Twitter and Instagram and Facebook. Any questions or any thoughts, feel free to send them my way. I'm here to help at any time.
And we'll just pass you over to Simone Cameron-Cohen in Trinity, if she's on. Hi.
Hi, my name is Simone Cameron-Cohen. I am the Civic Engagement Officer in Trinity College Dublin. I'm going to pop my contact details in the chat there now in a moment. But like Ruth, I connect the college to the community, and I look after student volunteering, also some staff stuff as well. And we also have a suite of awards that we acknowledge our student volunteering with towards the end of the academic year. So keep an eye out for the Dean of Students Awards. We also have a very handy online guided reflection tool that's open to everybody. It is connected to the Trinity graduate attributes, but everybody can use it and use the prompts to reflect on their volunteering. So I'm going to put those links in as well. If you have any questions around volunteering, or if you want to know how to sign up to StudentVolunteer.ie, do let me know, and I'll put the contacts in there for you now. Thank you.
Thanks, Simone. I'll pass you over now to Claire in TU Dublin.
Thanks, Niamh. My intro is a little bit longer. I hope it's not too long. So I'm Claire Flannery, the TU Dublin Student Volunteering Coordinator, and I work with Anita, Katie and Talayo in the City Campus Societies Office. I also work with Finn O'Neill, who's our student rep, who's our student volunteering chairperson, and he makes sure that all the activities we're running are relevant to your students. And important to note that while I'm based at City Campus, we try and support student volunteering across all TU Dublin campuses. So my role supports all volunteering, so that's on campus, like clubs and society committee members, just as Ruth and Simone were saying, similar at Trinity, peer mentoring, class reps, student ambassadors, and also off campus, so volunteering, that opportunities that you find through Student Volunteer or StudentVolunteer.ie or elsewhere. And the type of support that we offer is to equip you with information and advice. And we're just about to launch our first student volunteering handbook. So watch out for that. We'll have a hard copy and a digital copy as well. And we also provide training related to your volunteering activity. And currently we're doing EDI training. So we have anti-racism training tonight and intercultural awareness tomorrow. Let me know. I'll put my details in the chat box if you're interested in that. We'll also hold our second All University TU Dublin Student Volunteering Awards in 2022. So make sure that you log any of your volunteering hours, because you could be in line for automatically in line for a bronze, silver or gold Pillar of the Community Award medal. We've lots of opportunities to get stuck in, volunteer, meet other students, and we'll have our annual Christmas appeal. We're thinking about ideas for November at the moment. If you have any, get in touch with me as well. And generally just looking forward to working with you over the coming year. It's going to be really nice to be able to work both in person and online, whatever suits you, we'll figure it out. So I'll put my details in the chat box as well. Thank you so much, Niamh.
Thanks, Claire. Lots of information there to think about. So firstly, then we'll start off with Anna Rooney in Dún Laoghaire, Rathdown, VC Volunteer Centre, and she's going to talk about volunteering and the impact of it on your well-being. Thanks.
Thank you, Niamh. Hi, I'm Anna, and I'm one of the volunteer engagement officers in Dún Laoghaire Rathdown Volunteer Centre. Firstly, I'd like to thank Niamh and Teresa and the rest of you for the opportunity to speak to everyone about volunteering and its positive impact on well-being. Okay, so Teresa, if we can move on to the next slide, please. Okay, so first, if we explore what we understand by the terms. So volunteering, as defined by the National Volunteering Strategy, is time giving willingly, either formally or informally, for the common good and without financial gain. What is well-being? The Oxford English Dictionary defines well-being as a state of being comfortable, healthy, or happy. And this means many things to many people. So we'll just go a little bit further into the well-being, Teresa, on the next one. So that can include emotional well-being, physical, social, workplace well-being, and societal well-being. And I've just put in there a couple of things that we all tend to think about in each category. But it's all, and everybody has different understandings of what well-being is. And I guess how volunteering is impacted. Teresa, I'll ask you to, thank you. How does volunteering help our well-being? So the volunteers' well-being is impacted, but also those supported by the volunteer, their well-being is also impacted. So it has a ripple effect, and small actions can have large impacts. Okay, now we'll move on. In this year, there was an 18-year study published, results were published in the Journal of Happiness, and 70,000 participants in the UK took part. Their mental health and volunteering was assessed every 2 years over the 18 years. Okay. And the author came up with, made 3 suggestions on the basis of the actual research, that volunteering appeared to be intrinsically rewarding. So it's the happy glow or the hug we get when we do it. It boosts our sense of social connection, and it's a way to build professional skills and try out leadership opportunities. Interestingly enough, the age group 16 to 24 and 55 to 74 seem to be especially likely to benefit from volunteering. Now, the title of the actual study was, does volunteering make us happier, or are happier people more likely to volunteer? Researchers found that people who started to volunteer became happier over time, which was interesting. Okay, Volunteer Ireland in 2017, they also undertook a survey, but their survey was to identify the feelings experienced by volunteers during and after volunteering, to try and understand the way in which volunteering positively impacts health and well-being. So 55% of volunteers surveyed reported an increase in their mental health and their well-being. So we'll just look at a few, let's say, volunteers in Dún Laoghaire Rathdown, just a snapshot to give us an idea. So Niamh, she described it as feeling good, and I guess it's the happiness, and possibly could be connected to the concept of eudaimonic happiness, you know, meaning and purpose. So our next volunteer is Tasia. volunteering enabled her to meet people and practice English. And I guess with this, it makes us think about how her experience of living in a new country and learning a new language was helped by volunteering, and also the friends and the people she met, they will have had an impact by getting to know her and her experiences too. Okay, 60% of the volunteers surveyed reported feeling included and not being alone. I have heard in the past that loneliness has been described as an inability to find meaning in one's life. And obviously volunteering for these 60% of the volunteers allowed them to feel included. Also, being part of a community gives a sense of belonging, and 81% of the volunteers surveyed reported making a feeling of making a useful contribution to the community. And I guess in this, the important words are making a useful contribution. I guess it goes back to the whole human need of needing to be needed, and volunteering for those people provided that. Okay, we look at Adele next. And the one thing that comes to mind when I look at this picture is gratitude. Adele wanted to give to others what he had received when he came to Ireland. I guess there's a quote which is attributed to Churchill, which I think is particularly relevant with this slide, which is, "We make a living by what we get. We make a life by what we give." In our next slide, Gabrielle is the volunteer, and she talks about her confidence increasing and her outlook on life changing completely. I think this probably ties back to feeling useful and having a meaning and a purpose. Volunteering can span over any age group, any transition in life, any stage in life. And maybe in the older cohort of people, they have all that skills and experience, which isn't always, or maybe they feel a bit surplus to requirements, and volunteering can provide them with feeling useful. And our last volunteer is Keith. And Keith has a wish to study medicine. Volunteering with the community first responders gave him experience and first-hand insight into what helping others in a medical capacity is like, and hopefully Keith will go on to achieve his dream of studying medicine one day. Okay, well look, that's just a snapshot of a few of our volunteers. As a volunteer centre, we support people to volunteer, and we support organisations to involve volunteers. And there are roles for everyone, all ages and all stages of life. You're never too old or too young to volunteer. And I'll just give you a few examples of current roles we have on our books in Dún Laoghaire Rathdown. We have a doggy matchmaker. So the Cat and Dog Association would like a volunteer to arrange potential adopters for dogs. We have befriender roles for elderly and vulnerable people. We have baking volunteers are required, social media volunteers. And at the other end, we have member of board of directors volunteer is required. We also have volunteering from home opportunities, and these are different to opportunities which became remote and could be done from home during the pandemic. These are a specific, which can be getting involved in research studies, arts and crafts, but there is a specific area totally. And now that I've gone through the roles, how do we get you started? I think, so you can register with your local volunteer centre, and there's volunteer centres all over the country. You can register on ivol.ie. When you register, your registration details will automatically go to your local volunteer centre. You can register with StudentVolunteer.ie, and I'm sure Niamh and Teresa have loads of opportunities. And you can search online. It's very simple. Just go online and you can sign up, and it's organisations deal via email generally. So I hope some of this information will inspire some of you to get involved with volunteering, and if there's any questions, I will attempt to answer them later. So thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Anna. There were some interesting stats there and information about the various types of roles that people can get involved in. So yeah, we'll pass you on now over to Clara, and Clara is a student volunteer with Nightline, and she's very much involved there, and she can talk to you all about the benefits of being part of Nightline and the services that they have for you. Thank you.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks, everyone. So yeah, as I said, my name is Clara. I'm the public face for Nightline. So I'm actually a final year psychology student in UCD as well, but in my spare time, I also volunteer for Nightline, and I'm involved in publicity events like this to spread the word about what we are. So you can see there that our free phone is 1-800-793-793. We also have an instant messaging service on our website, which is nightline.ie, and we're open from 9 p.m. to 2:30 a.m. every night of term. But you might be wondering what actually is Nightline. So if we just move on to the next slide. Yeah, so we're a late night instant messaging and phone call listening service run for students by students. So on our website, you can students can at any time during their studies, they can text us on our website, or they can also pick up the phone and chat to a student. So it's a safe space for students to vent and chat every night of the college year. And what's different about us is the fact that it is run by students, so it's peer support. So rather than maybe some people might be a little bit more intimidated going into talking to something that's maybe not peer support, this is just for if they just want someone to listen to them, then that's what we're there for, and we can provide that space for them. But we're also an information service, so we help students get in touch with their college counsellors and also other organisations out there that they may be looking for help from. So examples would be Aware, Bodywise, or Jigsaw. So maybe when they call us, maybe at first they do just want to talk to us, but maybe at some point during the call, they may say that actually they've had a certain type of experience and they want some more specialized help. So we're there basically just to be a first point of contact to direct them on to those other services that might be helpful for them. So how do we listen? So when we take a call or when a chat comes through on our website, the thing that's in the volunteer's mind the whole time are our 4 pillars. So these are being non-judgmental, non-directive, confidential, and anonymous. So to explain that first, I suppose I'll start off with confidential and anonymous. So to start off with, we can't see who the caller is. We have no information about who they are. And also they don't know who the volunteer is either. So both parties are totally free to speak without fear of this coming back on them in any way in the future, because neither party knows who's speaking. It's also, the information is totally confidential. So it's very important that people feel that they can share whatever they want with us, and that information is only going to be shared with the volunteer that they're on talking to. But when we're listening, maybe more actively, what we're doing is we're being non-directive and we're being non-judgmental. So being non-judgmental, of course, means making sure that we, as we're talking, that we're not letting anyone think that they're being influenced by our opinion. We kind of keep our opinion out of it. And also we're non-directive. So again, kind of in keeping with, rather than having our personal opinions affecting the call, that we're not trying to tell anybody what they should or shouldn't do, but just providing that space for them to talk about their feelings and rooting everything in how they're feeling in that moment. And hopefully they can get a bit of clarity and feel a bit better from the call just based on that. So moving on then. So our key motto, I guess, is that no problem is too big or too small. So we respect the caller and their issue. We allow them to lead the conversation, and we ask questions to clarify the understanding and focus on their feelings, as I was saying. But in talking about the problems not being too big or too small, there's no such thing as one kind of call that we would get. So our calls range from anything from being just a bit lonely or wanting to talk about maybe exams coming up, to right up to maybe suicide and self-harm. So really anyone can feel totally comfortable with coming and speaking about whatever it is they want to talk about, because no two calls are the same. And it's not that we're expecting any one certain type of caller or that we're only catering to any one type of person. It's really for anyone with any kind of issue that they would like to discuss with us. So yeah, so to talk about how we were trained up in active listening, we have 24 hours of active listening training. So that's done in kind of block teaching. We do 3 hours of training multiple nights a week in the run up to us going on phones. And as well as that, we have buddy practice. So every volunteer is assigned a buddy who has already been a volunteer in the service for a while. And basically what happens is that on the various skills, they will have practice calls. So when I would have been training up as a volunteer, I would have been assigned a buddy, and I would have practiced various skills based on the certain types of calls that I would have been getting. So it was really good to have that experience before you actually go on calls for the first time, that you kind of really get a proper insight into, how to really actively listen and getting that feedback that really makes you feel really encouraged. And so that you're not getting a fright when you do first go on the phones, because it's not a new experience to you. We also have ongoing training during the year as well. So we also have retraining weekend, which means that all the volunteers get to brush up on their skills at various points too. So the key to active listening is making sure that we're kind of listening to understand rather than just to respond. So again, we're really making sure that the caller is directing the conversation. We're also making sure that we're repeating what they're saying back to us, that we're clarifying, that we're making sure that we're understanding them correctly, and also so that they have the opportunity to correct us if we're misunderstanding them. But also really making sure that it's very much so driven by what the caller wants to talk about. So, you know, the conversation is not led by what it is we want to talk about, but, you know, the issues that they're coming up with. And the way we do that is, again, by focusing on their feelings and just letting them tell us what they want to talk about. So, yeah, I think we have a video to watch now.
So what is empathy, and why is it very different than sympathy? Empathy fuels connection. Sympathy drives disconnection. Empathy, it's very interesting. Teresa Wiseman is a nursing scholar who studied professions, very diverse professions where empathy is relevant, and came up with 4 qualities of empathy. Perspective taking, the ability to take the perspective of another person or recognize their perspective as their truth. Staying out of judgment, not easy when you enjoy it as much as most of us do. Recognizing emotion in other people and then communicating that. Empathy is feeling with people. And to me, I always think of empathy as this kind of sacred space when someone's kind of in a deep hole and they shout out from the bottom and they say, I'm stuck, it's dark, I'm overwhelmed. And then we look and we say, hey, climb down. I know what it's like down here, and you're not alone. Sympathy is, ooh, it's bad, no, you want a sandwich? Empathy is a choice, and it's a vulnerable choice, because in order to connect with you, I have to connect with something in myself that knows that feeling. Rarely, if ever, does an empathic response begin with at least. Yeah. And we do it all the time, because you know what? Someone just shared something with us that's incredibly painful, and we're trying to silver lining it. I don't think that's a verb, but I'm using it as one. We're trying to put the silver lining around it. So, I had a miscarriage. Oh, at least you know you can get pregnant. I think my marriage is falling apart. At least you have a marriage. John's getting kicked out of school. At least Sarah is an A student. But one of the things we do sometimes in the face of very difficult conversations is we try to make things better. If I share something with you that's very difficult, I'd rather you say, I don't even know what to say right now, I'm just so glad you told me. Because the truth is, rarely can a response make something better. What makes something better is connection.
Yeah, so I think that was a really important video. It really illustrates kind of what we're talking about in terms of that we're not trying to come in and say that we're going to make things better for the other person, or even that we know how things are going to go or what life is going to be like for them after they come off that call. All we can do is kind of provide that space for them, and hopefully through talking through their issue, they just really feel that support from us on the call. So how are we supported as volunteers? So we have a lot of support structures in place as volunteers that make sure that we're in the best mental space to be able to provide the best service for anyone who's calling us. So we have bi-weekly support meetings with the college counsellors. So what that involves is all of the volunteers coming together to just discuss how they're feeling about the calls that they've had. So of course, again, in keeping with things being confidential, we will never share what was discussed on those calls, but we will discuss how we were feeling and how we felt we maybe handled the calls and what emotions came up for us on a call. And we can discuss that as a group and kind of support each other through that. We also have access to emergency counselling. So we all have links with our affiliate colleges such that the volunteers, if they have experienced a really difficult call and it's brought up some emotions for them, that they can get fast tracked to emergency counselling if it is needed, which is a great service to have on tap. Luckily, I don't think that it's overly used because we have a lot of support in general, but it is obviously, of course, great to know that it's there. We also have a designated support officer. So we also will log whether we find our calls super stressful, and if so, that kind of flags to the support officer that maybe that person needs a little bit of check-in the next day. So if you find an evening really stressful on phones, the next day you'll get a check-in from the support officer, and you can talk through how you're feeling, even just with them. So again, it's that peer support within our own community as well, before you even go to proper counselling or anything like that. It's nice to just touch base with somebody within the service. We also have support leaders on the night. So as you're taking phone calls, or as you're doing your text messages, instant messaging, there's a support leader there whose sole job is to make sure that everyone who's volunteering that night is okay. So as you're taking maybe an instant messaging, they might just say like, are you okay? How are things going for you? And they're just there for if you ever do need to just say to somebody like, look, I'm finding things kind of difficult right now. We have that support leader there to talk things through with. And also all the other volunteers are checking in throughout the night. So we're all there supporting each other through it, and we're all doing the same, we're all there to do the same thing, to support each other and to support the people that are calling us. So of course, we're all there to support each other too. So self-care is really important within Nightline. So it's always really important, you can't pour from an empty cup. So it's really important that the volunteers are in the best headspace, and that's always put first. So volunteers won't go on phones unless they themselves feel like they can. And if they don't feel like they can, and they don't feel mentally in the right space, there's never any pressure or obligation to do so. We also discuss our self-care ideas on our support meetings regularly, just talk about how we're looking after ourselves in general. But yeah, really it's just about this community of everyone looking out for each other and making sure that we're not taking too many phone calls as well. So also we're only limited to a certain number of shifts per month, just so that we don't get burned out with taking too many phone calls or anything like that. So yeah, overall as well in service, there's a really accepting and welcoming atmosphere. Of course, it attracts a certain kind of person perhaps that everyone wants to help other students, but everyone's really lovely, and there's opportunity to get more involved on committees. So you help run the actual service as a whole. So rather than just your voluntary commitments, it's also looking at how things are run behind the scenes. We make great friends, and we all go out together for hikes. We go for coffee, sea swims, different bits and pieces that are really important for our self-care, but just it's a really supportive community, and it's a great group of friends that I have within service now. So I'm really lucky to be a part of it. Yeah, and I think it's really important. So just to let you guys know that if you ever want to volunteer with us, we have an expression of interest form is always open on Nightline.ie. If you look on there, you'll be able to find it pretty quickly. So that means that when we are looking for volunteers, you'll get an email. And you can also follow us on Nightline Dublin on Instagram. We're on LinkedIn as well, and Facebook. But thank you very much, everybody. And if you have any questions, I'll take them at the end as well.
Thank you so much, Clara. That was actually really inspiring. Sounds like such a lovely place to volunteer, and also equally a lovely place to get in touch if anybody needs some advice. So just to say to everybody, do reach out to Nightline. If you're interested in volunteering with them, head to StudentVolunteer.ie and register. There's some opportunities up there. And then also, yeah, get in touch if you need them. It's such a brilliant service for students. So before we head over to our next speaker, who is Maria Kenley from TU Dublin, who's going to bring us through a lovely mindfulness workshop. What we will do is at the end of this, I am going to end the meeting for all, so that if you are nice and relaxed, that you can stay in that zone and you can head off then and hopefully have a lovely relaxing afternoon. Thank you everybody for joining us today, to Anna in Dún Laoghaire Rathdown, to Clara in Nightline, and also to Maria and our lovely colleagues in DCU, Trinity and TU Dublin. All of the contacts are in the chat, and if you wanted to find out anything more about anything that's gone on today, contact myself or Teresa at ucdic@ucd.ie. Okay, so I'll hand you over to Maria now, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the session. Thank you for joining us.
Hi everybody, lovely to be here today and to hear Anna and Clara talk. I'm going to talk to you for probably like 3 or 4 minutes, and then we'll do some experiential learning and some mindfulness practice, which hopefully you can adapt over the coming days, weeks, months to suit your own needs. And I am a lecturer at TU Dublin. I am a mindfulness teacher and I'm doing my PhD in mindfulness at the moment. So really, mindfulness is this free, natural inner tool that we all have. It's an ability we all have, and it's just knowing how to access it. And, you know, by definition, mindfulness is using the breath and the body to be fully present. So to be in this moment, which is really probably the only moment that we have, and the only moment that we're truly alive. You know, so not projecting too much to future events, worrying, maybe, you know, fantasizing, or spending too much time in the past. And it's being aware of where we are and what we are doing. So really opening up to the fullness of our experiences, and checking in with ourselves, taking time during the day just to say, how am I doing and what are my needs right here and right now? So next slide, Lisa, great. And just in mindfulness, there's very much this connection, and Clara spoke about, you know, that connection. And in mindfulness, the connection is really between the body and the mind. And like any mental and physical skills development, you know, we start slowly and we build incrementally. So just like going to the gym, when we practice mindfulness, you know, we begin small, and we let our practice grow. So the next slide there, please, Teresa. So, you know, even by pausing in our lives, our busy lives very often, just by pausing and by practicing for even 5 minutes a day, we can see the benefits spill out into the rest of our lives, into other parts of our day. Thanks, Teresa, over again. And the possibilities with mindfulness are numerous. You know, research shows that, you know, practicing mindfulness can lead to greater kindness to self and to others, which is really what we're here to talk about today. It can help deal with anxiety, you know, soothing the nervous system, managing stress better, perhaps leading to less reactivity and a calmer, more kind of reflective response to situations. It can build resilience. And I've heard experts say, you know, just because we practice mindfulness doesn't mean that our lives are calm and stress-free, but it can build our inner tools and our resilience to life's stresses and challenges. It can help improve self-confidence, this non-judgmental, more accepting attitude of being with ourselves. Definitely, the research is showing that studies, our clarity, our mental ability is improved with mindfulness. And this self-image, you know, this more accepting, more loving image and relationship that we form with ourselves and with others. So, Teresa, can you move on? Lovely. And I was doing some research with UW Dublin students this summer, and one student commented and said, you know, your life is stressful. Being calm for 5 minutes a day is pointless. But the neuroscience, these brain scans are showing on the next slide there that, you know, even a short 3 to 4 minute meditative session can lead to new neural pathways forming. It can regenerate the brain, the areas of the brain that are related to concentration, attention. It can help trigger our parasympathetic nervous system, which soothes the body, which releases calming hormones, and it can increase immunity, improve immunity, and lead to better quality sleep. So the research is there, and that research base is growing. And my final slide, so who's practicing it? Well, we're hearing more and more about mindfulness these days, and we see that it's been practiced very much in the realm of sport. People like LeBron James, Katie Taylor is a big advocate of mindfulness. In the States, NFL teams have mindfulness coaches. In business, Apple, Google, they're offering mindfulness to their employees. In politics and celebrities, we see that they're using mindfulness not only to deal with life's challenges, but to I suppose, embrace the opportunities that life can present to us more fully. So scientists have discovered that the more we practice, the better. So we can see physical benefits and we can see psychological benefits. But the key words here are daily and incremental. So even just that short 3 to 4 minute daily practice and building on that can lead to increased benefits. So when we practice mindfulness, we can practice sitting down, we practice lying down, and we practice movement, which is what I'm going to do today, and walking meditation as well. And I'll begin with very short, maybe 1 or 2 minutes sitting, and then we're going to go into some movement. And as I say, you can adapt these practices just to suit your needs over the coming days, weeks, and months as you find yourself in different situations, and certainly to support your volunteering in your life in college. Okay, so inviting you now just to come to a comfortable seated position. So that's balanced and that's stable, maybe with a whole sense of being awake. And invite you to close the eyes if you'd like, or if you'd rather, just leaving the eyes open with the gaze lowered. And as best as you can, just gathering the attention. So turning inwards to the mind and the body in this present moment. And maybe just asking, what thoughts are around? These may be thoughts about, something that's going to happen this afternoon or something that happened this morning, or without becoming too involved in the stories of your thoughts. As best as you can, just observing them. A little bit like passing clouds in the sky. And asking too, what feelings, what emotions are here? Maybe there's feelings of tiredness or lethargy, or perhaps even some kind of sense of calm as we begin this mindfulness practice. And just observing these, opening to them, whether they be pleasant or unpleasant, neither pleasant nor unpleasant. And maybe even scanning the body now for any physical sensations. So just tuning into maybe the neck or the shoulders, any areas of tightness, tension. Just asking, how is this body right here and right now? Not judging or changing or trying to manipulate it in any way. But if it's available to you, perhaps even just breathing into any part of the body, particularly tight, and maybe creating some space or some loosening in that area. And so when you're ready, very slowly and gently opening the eyes. And with mindful movement, we remember that the invitation is there just to do as little or as much as you'd like this morning. And adapting any of my directions or my suggestions, just suit your body and to your body's needs. So if you'd like, coming to a standing position, but you're very welcome to remain seated as well. And just adjusting the posture. So maybe softening the knees and just aligning the hips over the knees, maybe dropping the shoulders just a little bit and allowing the arms to become heavy. And with the head upright, the eyes closed, if that allows you to connect more fully with your mind and body. Inviting you now just to let your attention settle, a bit like sediment, just let it settle on the feet. These feet flat on the floor, whether you're seated or standing, and really tuning into any sensations in the feet right now. So these may be sensations of warmth or cold. Maybe that sensation of connection between the sole of the foot and the floor, the hard floor, or maybe the softer carpet. And really just allowing your attention to be with everything that's alive in the feet right now. And if there's nothing in particular present for you, that's fine too. And if you'd like, and if it's available to you, just coming ever so gently to the balls of the feet. And now just pausing here for a moment and seeing what's alive, holding on to something if that allows you to feel more stable and more secure. And just seeing what's alive here with regards to balance and breath. And maybe even just exploring with curiosity this feeling of maybe rocking very gently back and forth from the balls of the feet onto the heels of the feet. and being as present as possible, all the intricacies, the very simple, intricate movements of this rocking motion. And when you're ready, and if you'd like, if you haven't already done so, just coming back to a neutral standing position with the feet flat on the floor. And we remember what mindful movements, the invitation is to be really mindful of the limitations of the body, not pushing through them, but also exploring, the potential of the body, what the body can do. And so I invite you now just to gently and slowly allow your arms to float upwards, if that's available. With the palms facing upwards, and allowing the arms to float upwards until the upper arms are parallel to the ears and the tips of the fingers are stretching upwards towards the sky. So really breathing into this stretch, this beautiful stretch, this pull of gravity in the lower half of the body down to the earth. This anchoring, this grounding motion that can help us feel stable and strong and resilient in times of challenges. And then this upward stretch of possibility, really stretching up as far as feels comfortable for you. Breathing into the stretch, feeling into any sensations along the side of the body, the rib cage, into the bits of the arms, the upper arms, the lower arms, right into the fingertips. Maybe even checking in with the mind now, just seeing is there any activity in the mind, is the mind, maybe striving or pushing or some kind of a resistance here. Maybe this judgment like, oh, I should be able to do this better. I feel stiffness, or why am I so tight? And whatever activity is there, just allowing it to be, acknowledging it and bringing the attention back to the breath and the stretch of opposites. And when you're ready, you haven't already done so, just allowing the arms to gently and mindfully float down again. And coming to rest by the side of the body. And just allowing your awareness to really open up to any sensations, whether they're wanted or unwanted, maybe tingling, maybe a sense of tightness or a loosening that's there in the body in the aftermath of what we've started. And now, if you'd like, allowing the lower half of the body to remain facing forward and just twisting the trunk of the body. So twisting as much or as little as you'd like, maybe involving the arms kind of playfully in this. And now more skillfully, you can just with the palms of the hands, forming almost like a fist, and inviting the arms just to gently pump the back, that kidney area at the back of the body, just waking up that kidney energy there at the very back, middle of the back, and perhaps even inviting the arms to move upwards to the shoulder area. Maybe even bringing the body to a hold, coming to a standing position again. Inviting the arms, the fists to move around the upper half of the body. Gently pump with the soft fist the shoulders, crawling around the front of the shoulders into the chest. Maybe creating some space around the heart area. Deepening the breath, moving down to the digestive area here. Fiery digestive area, which we're going to need for our lunch in order to digest later on. Down the outer parts of the legs. Curiosity, seeing what sensations are coming up here and now, really awakening up the legs and moving up the inner meridian, this energy channel in the inside of the legs. Coming around to the lower back, very often this area of tension and tightness. And maybe just taking your right fist and moving up the inside of the left arm, really feeling into that shoulder area. You know, we're sitting so much on our computers, there's tightness in the shoulders and the neck and the upper arms, right down the arms. And likewise, maybe just changing over to the other hand now and moving up from the lower arm to the upper arm, crawling around the shoulder and back down the outer part of the arm. And when you're ready, you finish that stimulating, that energizing, mindful move, just returning to this neutral position. The eyes closed, the eyes open, the gaze lowered, and pausing here for a moment. And really feeling into this mind, body, heart connection. Maybe this more spacious heart area, this tingling body, this perhaps more energized body, this mind that's as present as possible with these body sensations. And as we bring this short mindful movement practice to a close, I invite you just to remain here in the standing or seated position and pausing. Really connecting with the breath as we breathe in and we breathe out. Maybe feeling that breath in the abdomen, the belly rises or the belly falls, or the chest area. The chest rises and the chest falls. And perhaps even setting an intention. Take some of this calm, this sense of stillness, the sense of well-being into the rest of our day. And remembering that we can practice and connecting again with our minds and our hearts and our bodies, even just for short 3 to 4 minute periods during the day. And when you're ready, slowly and mindfully opening the eyes, maybe reconnecting back again with our friends and our colleagues on the screen, and wishing you all a lovely rest of the day. Thank you. Bye-bye.